Hey Lewis, let's take a look at your week 4 assignment 2 ad drawing. I think you've got a good kind of overall rendering of your ad. All the elements are in place. I think you're doing a nice job of working with a lot of negative space in here. The cone I think is looking very good overall in terms of kind of the proportion of it, the ellipse of it, and some of the marker work that's being done on it. I like a lot. Color also just seems like it's fitting nicely within the cone itself. The other elements are good. There's a little bit of some issue for me with kind of the unevenness of the background. For as much as there is, and there is a lot, I can understand that trying to get it to be even is very difficult, but there are a lot of areas where it starts to pool up and get very, very heavy and dark in value, and then there's other areas where it's very, very light in value, where it doesn't seem like it's even made a kind of a second pass. So there's a lot of places where it just starts to end up turning out to be very splotchy, and I think a certain amount of unevenness is fine, especially if it's such a big area. But I think when it when it starts to detract from the elements that are in the composition, then that's when we start to have a little bit of an issue. I like the coloring that you have in place for the ice cream cone itself, and some of the value that you're putting in there, which I think is also very nice, going from a little bit kind of darker to lighter. We can see that here, going darker to lighter, which is good. I think being able to see a little bit more value change on this bottom part of the cone, as well as kind of working a little bit more value in the actual kind of waffle part of the cone. So I think down here you could get a little bit darker, and I think here you could actually try and do what they're doing in the cone itself, which is there's kind of every time that there's a shape, there's like a little diamond here, it's shadowed on kind of the bottom side about here. And I think just going in and doing that with pretty consistently with it is going to help to give it that little bit of sense of depth. I think intensifying some of the white application that you've put in here as well could be helpful. This is something I wish you had gotten before, at the very beginning stages when you're laying in your base coat, where you laid in kind of a lighter valued coat here and then a darker value coat here, so that you would have a little of that value transition instead of having the colored pencil having to do all the work for you, which ends up kind of looking a little bit uneven. That's one of the reasons why when you're working with a process, going from lighter to darker, that you're keeping an eye on where there are highlights, where there are lighter values, and where there are darker values. There's some other things like I think you should probably just have kind of gone in and Greeked out the bottom text, because it's very uneven and it's not working, I think, quite as consistently as what's in the ad. I like the fact that you're trying to capture the font and the text and the kind of cursive writing of the other parts of it, which is good. And coloring and all that also seems like it's trying to match up fairly well, other than having kind of red instead of white, which is fine. The rest of it is, good. I think, edge quality seems to be maintaining itself overall. There's some areas where I think, it looks like edges have been broken a little bit, but the cone seems to be the strongest part of the drawing, which is good since it's the focal point. Good amount of color, good amount of value, good amount of value changes. I think it could be pushed more, but I think that if you're going to focus on something in the composition, you might as well focus as much of your energy as you can on the focal point itself. So just keep at it, keep practicing, and just see how it goes, and we'll see you for your next one in a couple days.